Even though James Spader has had a long and pretty successful career, it might come as a surprise to some people that he's only taken on 2 major roles in the past 10 years. That's it, just 2. One of them is his voice performance as the villainous Ultron in Avengers: Age of Ultron, and the other is his lead role as Raymond "Red" Reddington in NBC's The Blacklist. And honestly, those 2 characters have kind of defined this latest phase of his acting life. Spader's been in the business for a long time. He started acting back in the late 70s, but his big break didn't really come until 1989 when he starred in Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Since 2013, Spader has pretty much put all his energy into The Blacklist. He played Reddington for a solid 10 seasons, and in those 218 episodes, he was basically the heart and soul of the show. Reddington was a criminal mastermind who mysteriously turned himself in to the FBI and offered to help them catch even more dangerous criminals. But of course, there was always a twist. He'd only work with rookie profiler Elizabeth Keene. It made for good drama and kept fans guessing about his motives for years. Although The Blacklist had its ups and downs, especially in later seasons, it stayed afloat largely because of Spader. He brought a strange charm and intensity to Reddington, and that kept people watching. And toward the end, Spader even hinted that if the show had gone on any longer, it probably wouldn't have felt like The Blacklist anymore. He appreciated how the tone of the show was always shifting. Some episodes felt like spy thrillers, others like horror or even dark comedy. It all depended on who was on the blacklist that week. But he also knew it couldn't last forever without becoming something unrecognizable. There was also some nice closure by the time it ended, especially in Reddington's relationships with other key characters like Demby, Cooper, and Wrestler. So while the show may not have gone out on the highest of highs, it definitely didn't overstay its welcome, thanks largely to Spader calling time when he did. And now that The Blacklist is wrapped up, Spader's going back to the Marvel Universe. He's officially set to return as Ultron in the upcoming Disney Plus series Vision Quest. That's the same killer AI he voiced in Avengers: Age of Ultron, and even though that film came out in 2015, Spader's Ultron clearly made a lasting impression. It's still unclear exactly how Ultron is coming back, considering he was destroyed, but this is the MCU. Resurrections and unexpected returns are kind of their thing. Vision Quest will also bring back Paul Bettany as Vision, and that's a whole other can of worms. See, at the end of WandaVision, we saw the introduction of White Vision, a more mechanical and emotionally distant version of the character. That version took off to parts unknown, and fans have been wondering ever since what he's been up to. Now, it looks like we're finally going to find out. There's speculation that Vision Quest might explore a darker side of Vision. In fact, some are thinking he could even turn into a villain. And it's not just speculation. Marvel has already shown how dangerous White Vision could be. In Season 3 of the animated What If series, there was an episode where White Vision was under the control of Mysterio, and the result was pretty terrifying. He turned into a nearly unstoppable weapon and wiped out a bunch of heroes before finally being taken down. In that alternate universe, he led something called the Iron Federation, which was basically a massive army of Stark drones. That storyline reminded fans that Vision's body was originally built by Ultron using vibranium to serve as a vessel for his mind. And even though Ultron didn't end up occupying that body, thanks to the Avengers uploading Jarvis into it, a piece of Ultron's code still lives inside Vision. That little detail could end up being super important in Vision Quest. So if Ultron's making a comeback in Vision Quest, and White Vision is still out there processing his identity, there's a real possibility that Vision could get pulled back into Ultron's orbit, literally and figuratively. It would create a powerful dynamic, especially since White Vision lacks the emotional core that the original had. What's even more interesting is that Vision Quest might dig into some deeper Marvel lore, especially with the introduction of Jocasta. In the comics, Jocasta was built by Ultron to be his companion, kind of like a twisted AI love story. But she ends up turning against him. Now, Tania Miller is playing Jocasta in the upcoming show, and that casting choice has fans buzzing. She's known for powerful performances in shows like The Peripheral and Star Trek Picard, and it looks like she'll bring some serious weight to the role. Although Marvel Studios has changed quite a few things from the comics over the years, bringing in Jocasta signals that Vision Quest might go deeper into the complicated relationships between AI characters. And if they stick to Jocasta's comic roots, we might even see her shift from ally to adversary or vice versa. Also worth noting, this show won't be overseen by WandaVision showrunner Jack Schaefer. Instead, it's being helmed by Terry Matalas, who worked on Star Trek Picard and 12 Monkeys. So the tone could be a bit darker and more grounded, which might actually suit the themes of identity, control, and legacy that this series seems ready to explore. There's also this idea that White Vision's arc might reflect some of Tony Stark's deepest fears. Back in the day, Tony was constantly worried about his tech being misused. He went through that in Iron Man with Obadiah Stane, again in Iron Man 2 with Justin Hammer and Whiplash, and then, most disastrously, in Age of Ultron. Vision was originally supposed to be Ultron's body, but Tony hijacked the process. If that body now becomes the real villain, well, it kind of proves Tony's worst nightmare right. Even though Tony's been gone since Endgame, his influence is still all over the MCU. The fact that his tech keeps resurfacing, often in dangerous ways, just reinforces how impactful and sometimes reckless he was. And considering both Paul Bettany and, rumor has it, Robert Downey Jr. are coming back in 2026, there could be some really compelling character threads to pull on. Meanwhile, in the comics, White Vision's been going through his own dark transformation. In the upcoming issue, The Vision and the Scarlet Witch #2, Vision is resurrected again, but this time he comes back different, porcelain-skinned, unstable, and full of pain. Wanda tries to help him, but he's so emotionally volatile that she's forced to trap him in an alternate dimension just to keep people safe. That version of Vision isn't the calm, collected hero we're used to. He's broken, angry, and unpredictable. And while Wanda's actions were driven by love, they've also turned him into something far more dangerous. He's not the protector anymore, he's a threat. And that emotional instability could easily show up in the live-action Vision Quest series. If Marvel leans into that angle, we could see Vision go from grieving hero to volatile anti-hero or even a full-blown villain. And that would be a bold move for the character, but one that makes a lot of sense given everything he's been through. Plus, with someone like James Spader back in the mix as Ultron, the tension between creation and creator could take center stage again. So, between Spader's Ultron return, Bettany's Vision comeback, Jocasta entering the scene, and the possible unraveling of White Vision's psyche, Vision Quest is shaping up to be one of the more ambitious and emotionally heavy projects in Marvel's Phase 6. It's not just about superhero fights, it's about identity, legacy, and what happens when the lines between machine and man and hero and villain get blurred. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.